I fancied a little bit of a change this month. ItsOcean. Tally ho, ItsOcean back again with another episode of I kind of pulled my wrist a little bit doing that. Mumford Entertainment is the show where I talk about all the games, all the movies, and all the TV shows that I have consumed over a given month. Before I get into the episode, I do quickly want to say that there will be no spoilers for anything that I talk about here. This show is strictly a non-spoiler show. But yes, if you have watched any other Mumford Entertainment episodes, I'm usually stood further off into the same room. But I decided this week, we're gonna just chill out a little bit, man. Is this a gimmick? Absolutely. It's a pretty fun one as well, because it means that I can literally change positions at any given moment. But with all that being said, let's get into another episode of Mumford Entertainment. Roll the intro! So this month has been kind of a Why am I stood up? This month has been kind of a weird month for me. I'm not gonna lie when I say this, but I have revised the things that I wanted to talk about this month several times because it's just been such a weird month. There's just not really been too much that has really wowed me. Well, there is one thing, but we will get to that eventually. But let's get into the video games and oh god. So I said in the previous episode that Saints Row was coming out. And oh, it came out alright. It came out. And I'll admit, I was actually one of the people that was kind of thinking that people were being a little bit too harsh on this game, and I still think that people playing like an hour of the game and saying, this is the worst game I've ever played, within an hour was a bit ridiculous. At least give it some time. I probably played about 20 hours or so, because I was doing a lot of side stuff to try and see everything that there was to see, I guess. The new Saints Row is very boring, it's not very fun, it's very, very buggy. I mean, as of right now, they may have fixed some of the bugs. I played it for about a week after it came out, and then I just moved on. I got so bored, I just moved on to other games. So for anyone unaware of what this game actually is, this Saints Row is a reboot of sorts. The idea is that we have a new cast of Saints. We have a new group who, people who were in university and they're all living together and like they're all roommates and they've got student debt, which is it's a bit of a cringe start to a story, but whatever. And because of their student debt, they are trying to make money. They are trying to just do whatever jobs they can. One day they decide, you know what, screw it, let's just start a criminal empire. Because yeah, that's what you do when you've got student debt, I guess. Wait a minute. I have student debt. Does that mean that I have to be a criminal now? Fucking give me your fucking money right now. Give me your wallet. Come on, give me your wallet or I'll jab you with this pen. So these guys decide to start a criminal empire which irks and pisses off every other gang in the area, and thus you have your usual gang warfare going on. Now, to be really honest, I can't talk too much more about the story, and I don't tend to do this on Mumford Entertainment, but I didn't finish this game. I didn't finish it. It was just so boring. I wasn't really a fan of the characters, I wasn't really a fan of the other gangs. Something about this game just feels super uninspired. Like, it just feels like they were making this at gunpoint or something. The soundtrack was pretty forgettable as well, which was super sad. I was so disappointed with this game. For me, it's probably one of the biggest disappointments this year. And that really sucks, because I was hoping this month I would have something huge, something amazing that I absolutely loved that I could talk about. Wait a minute. So yes, I do not recommend Saints Row. Maybe check it out in a few years when it gets patched up and stuff and it's got DLC or what the fuck ever, and there's like a gold edition that's got like all the content or whatever in it. Maybe check it out then or when it goes on sale. But right now, I very much do not recommend buying this game at all. It is just not good. And now to talk about an absolute banger of a game, I checked out Farcry 6. Another one, really? Okay. So yes, you saw correctly on that. I played Far Cry 6, didn't finish it. So I checked out Far Cry 6 via Ubisoft Connect on PC because I saw that they were doing like a free week of Ubisoft Connect. But one of the best things that I found with Ubisoft Connect, and this is the only good thing I think Ubisoft have done in a long goddamn time, which is that Ubisoft Connect is like Ubisoft's version of Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium or fucking fuck you edition. I can't remember what the memberships are called for that fucking whole mess of a system. But one of the coolest things that they have done with this is, yes, you can have all your Ubisoft games on there. They include all the DLCs, and that was actually pretty mind-blowing because even Xbox Game Pass doesn't do that. So I figured, sure, I'll check out Far Cry 6, I'll play it for a while, I'll check out the DLCs. So I'm going to do something a little bit weird here, which is I'm going to flip things around a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the DLC first. So the Far Cry 6 DLC sees you stepping into the shoes of Vas Montenegro, of Pagan Min, and of Joseph Seed, villains from Far Cry 3, 4, and 5. And that is super, super cool. Now what is going on here is that it's like they're inside their head. It's not like a real situation that's playing out. So things can get very fucking trippy. You get to see visions and stories of the characters' past, and it kind of gets you into the mindset of that particular character and how they feel about certain events. For example, Vas Montenegro, possibly the best character in Far Cry of all time, in my opinion at least, quite often roaming around you will see Jason Brody from Far Cry 3, and Jason Brody in this is a fucking asshole. Every 2 seconds he's like trying to stab you and he's like, yeah, what do you think of that, dickhead? Haha, I meant to fuck up your shit. Pagan Min sees himself as this wonderful human being who's very humble and very kind to people and doesn't seem to realise that that is not the way that people view him. People think he is a monster, and this fact is horrifying to him. Joseph Seed feels the need to repent for his ways, feels the need to repent for everything he did, not just to the people of Montana, but to his family. And he sees the ways in which he has been evil. I just thought the stories for this were so interesting, and it was really cool to get into the minds of these characters and to see a little bit more of their personality from their perspective. The only slight issue I do have with these DLCs is they're roguelike experiences, because of fucking course they are. Everything's a fucking roguelike these days. Any weapons and perks and bonus yada 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 that you get, you lose if you die. And you have to start from the very start of the DLC again if you die. So you do keep some of your stuff, but you lose most of it, and then you have to redo any missions that you did. And that is the main issue that I have here. I don't want to keep replaying the same missions again and again and again just to try and get further in this fucking DLC. Because the stories are really interesting. I really enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the vibe of this. I enjoyed hearing more about these characters and seeing more things, as I said before, from their perspective. But the roguelike mechanics just kept getting in the fucking way of that. Luckily though, if you really don't like the roguelike experience, you can change the difficulty to story difficulty or easy difficulty. I forget what the difficulty was called. The only slight issue with this is if you do this, you almost become invincible. It would probably take a whole army of people shooting miniguns at you to kill you. The only thing really that fucks you up in these DLCs is just fire. When you're on fire, your health drops faster than your mum drops her underwear. I personally didn't mind that difficulty because I prioritise fun and story and all that stuff over challenge these days. That's just who I am these days. I don't care much about difficulty. But if you do want a harder kind of experience and you don't mind the roguelike stuff, I would suggest sticking to the normal difficulty. I'm going to get back to the main game now. And good God, does the main game suck in comparison. Let's get into the main game story. So we have Giancarlo Esposito, which is awesome, as the villain in this game. He is Anton Castillo, and I think, I could be wrong, but I think this game is meant to be set in Cuba. I'm not sure, or somewhere like that at least. So Anton Castillo is this bastard who everyone hates, you know, your typical Far Cry villain, and he's a tyrant who has a vice grip over the entire nation. And then you have his son, forget his name, Castillo. Anton is trying to teach his son the means to be a leader, a benevolent overlord over this country. But his son isn't into it. You find yourself washed up on the shores of a nearby area and you end up joining a guerrilla revolution. So basically your goal here is to go through these different areas, these different parts of the country, and try and find all these different people to join the revolution so that you can combine your forces and go and attack Anton Castillo and, you know, revolution and take back the country. But as usual with Ubisoft games, You do a lot of open world bullshit that's not very interesting or fun to do, as usual. It does have some interesting side quests here and there, but otherwise you're just running around taking out enemy fortresses, or doing races, or the usual kind of stuff that Ubisoft like to put in their open worlds. However, you don't have to climb towers. Let's fucking go! But like I said, I didn't finish the game. I finished all the DLCs, but I didn't finish the main game because I found the main game just so boring in comparison. It was just lots of open world filler, as Ubisoft loves to do with the god-awful open world games. And I just found myself getting really, really bored and super burned out because of just how dull everything else in the world actually is. So I can't really tell you too much more about the story, I can't really tell you too much about Anton, I can't really tell you too much more about the vibe of this game overall, because, I don't know, like Far Cry 6 does have the same issue though, of trying to set a very strong tone of an oppressed people, of a really broken system and a country that is being ruled with an iron fist by a tyrannical asshole. And then 2 minutes later it's like, woo, we're flying a plane, let's fucking go! Yeah, bitches, grenade! And I fucking hate when games do this, when they try to make it seem very serious and like there's a lot of really bad shit going on here and they can tell some really good stories with that kind of tone, and then they just turn it into a generic action story of you running around flying cars. But it keeps trying to do this thing where it tries to make the tone really serious. Like you'll have scenes with Anton where he's being Giancarlo Esposito and he is talking to his son and telling him about what he needs to do to rule this country with an iron fist. You must not make any leeway with these rebels. You must crush them at all costs. And then 2 minutes later, you'll meet a character that's like, hey, gringo, how's it going, man? Yeah, let's go and party, man. Yeah, let's get the beer and I'll fucking shoot a guy in the face. It's like, what the fuck? What happened? Like, could you imagine if something like Cyberpunk 2077 did that? Yeah, Jackie, I'm really sorry about what happened to your dad. I'm making this up, by the way, there's no spoilers, don't worry. I'm really sorry about what happened to your dad, man. That's really fucked up, Jackie. And Jackie's like, thanks, man, I appreciate it. I just, you know, he used to abuse my mother. He used to beat her up every day. It really fucking got to me, man. And then 2 seconds later, they just go, let's party! What the fuck? Also, I realized maybe doing that dance and standing up was a bad idea because I just realized I'm pretty sure the camera is more at crotch level than it is head level, but if you do want to check it out though, if you are a PC gamer specifically, I would recommend checking out Ubisoft Connect, just because it's cheaper than buying it full price is what I'm trying to say, and it does include all the DLC. So if you do decide you want to go and give it a look and maybe see what you think of it, for all you know, you might love it. This is just my opinion. But anyway, I'm gonna move on to a good game? Wait, what? That's fucking right, folks. You heard it here first. I'm actually going to be talking about a game that I really fucking enjoyed. Holy shit, mind-blowing stuff right here. So, a game I checked out this month that I did really enjoy was The Artful Escape. Holy goddamn, this game was a lot of fun. I checked this game out on Xbox Game Pass, but it isn't available anymore. I finally got around to playing this game because it was leaving Xbox Game Pass, so I thought, shit, I really need to hurry up and get on with this game. I need to get this game played as soon as possible, because it's just one of those games that's been sat in my backlog for months now, and I kept meaning to check it out, and there was always something else that came along. But I finally played it, and oh my god, it was so fucking good. It was so good. Oh. So The Artful Escape is the story of Francis Vendetti. He lives in this really cool town and he's being moulded by the town into the next greatest folk songwriter of all time, because his uncle, Johnson Vendetti, is kind of like the Bob Dylan of this game, I guess. He's this big personality, this big persona who passed away at some point, but the town never really moved on from him. They still love him and revere him and see him as like this idol. And because he has this nephew that's also a musician, they're like, oh, well, here you go, here's the next Johnson Vendetti. He's gonna be the next Johnson Vendetti. So Francis feels like he's being forced into this role of a folk songwriter, but he's really not into it. His heart is not into it at all. But one day late at night, he heads outside after hearing a mysterious noise to find a fucking alien. Is like, yo, what up, bitch? Let's fucking go play some cool music. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then he has a transformation. He's got like this cool, like, futuristic fucking suit on, and he's got this really cool electric guitar, and he's like, and as you go around the town, all the lights light up and everything's glowing and neon, and oh Oh, it's so good. The vibes in this game are so fucking good. I just got into this position to continue talking and I realized I feel like Jeff Goldblum. Life finds a way. So eventually Francis and this alien end up going into space to this giant ship where he ends up meeting this guy, this big legend of the cosmos, this larger-than-life personality that everyone loves and reveres and is considered the greatest musician of all time. And this guy wants Francis to take his role. He wants Francis to be his successor. But in order to do that, Francis has to make a name for himself. So he travels all around the galaxy, meeting all kinds of incredibly weird and wonderful characters and just shredding on guitar the whole time, like and it's so goddamn good. Oh, the vibes. There's neon everywhere. As you're running around, you can hold down a button to play your guitar and you'll just run and shred. All these lights will appear in the background. Creatures will react to what you're doing and will like dance or start moving around. And it's just so fucking good. It's so weird. It's so wonderful. It is an absolutely fantastic goddamn game with a wonderful soundtrack as well. I even liked the folk songs, even though the folk songs are not the main aspect of this game. It's just a part of the story. I loaded this game up and I got to the main menu and then... And the sweet rose of pines lost in your winter night. Run, baby, far from home. Oh, the vibes from the very get-go are just fantastic. I think this game was only about somewhere between 5 to 10 hours long or something like that. It is kind of a shorter game, but it makes for a wonderful musical odyssey of an experience. It was so fucking good. Highly recommend going and checking out this game.
This is divine.
So let's move over now to the movies. This is so difficult. Why did I do this? Don't look at my ass. So the movie I want to talk about is Airplane. Now, this movie is a fucking classic. If you haven't heard of it already, where have you been? Have you been living under a rock? Airplane is a movie from maybe the 70s or 80s, and it is so hilarious. This movie is a comedy.
Can you fly this plane and land it?
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
The idea is that you've got an airplane. What a fucking shock. And on this airplane you've got a bunch of different characters, including our main character who has a drinking problem. It's a situation where something happens with the airplane, it ends up all spiraling out of control. The hero and a bunch of other characters have to try and land this airplane while keeping people on the plane safe and try and solve all these different dilemmas, but it's all done in the guise of comedy.
What was it we had for dinner tonight?
Well, we had a choice, steak or fish.
Yes, I remember I had lasagna.
It is so stupidly wonderful and silly. The comedy can be very literal. I don't really know what else to say about this film, to be honest. It's just a very silly, very wonderfully funny film. So if you do want a bit of a comedy, if you want something a little bit silly, then go ahead and check out Airplane. But now finally, now I can talk about it. Now I can finally move over to the Le Television shows. I don't know why I said it like that. And this month was the release of Cyberpunk fucking Edgerunners. Let's go! Now, some of you may already know that I am a fan of Cyberpunk 2077. Yes, it's a bit of a generic game overall, but I love the stories, the characters, the soundtrack, and the world, the lore of this entire universe. So you can bet your sweet clappable ass that I was going to check out the anime. And the anime is so fucking good. It might actually be a little bit better than the game's story. And that's wild to me because I really enjoyed the game's story. So Cyberpunk Edgerunners introduces a bunch of new characters to this universe. One of those characters is David. David is our main character and he's studying at this big, very rich school, and his mum is absolutely working her ass off to try and get him through this school so that he can have hopefully a better life than she has had. She wants the best for her kid. The problem is the setting in this, Night City, is a merciless being, full of gangs and crime every single goddamn day. So one day, a truck pulls up with a bunch of goons in, they're like whipping out guns like, "You fucking son of a bitch!" And unfortunately, David and his mother end up in the crossfire. David loses his mother and does not know what to do anymore. There's rent needs paying, bills that need paying, he needs money to be able to have food to actually survive, and now he doesn't know what to do about school because now he's got to figure out a way to pay for all of this stuff all by himself. So he does the thing that anyone else in that situation in Night City city would do. He has to resort to a life of crime. So he eventually meets Lucy, our other main character. She's already in a life of crime. She's a great thief who steals chips out of people's necks. It's a cyberpunky thing. You get it if you watch the show. And the two end up eventually working together. David ends up joining the gang that she's a part of, and we get our crew of misfits, including Rebecca, our fucking queen. I love Rebecca. Must protect at all costs. She's goddamn amazing. She's the fucking best.
Oh, David, my man, what's going on? Everything good?
Yeah.
What's up, June?
So David and this gang need to basically do any crimes and any kind of jobs that they can in order to make ends meet. So they find themselves in all these really fucked up situations where they're having to fight for their very lives to survive this city. The city of dreams that is actually, in reality,
A city of nightmares.
Meanwhile, there's this corporate asshole, also played by Giancarlo Esposito, which is pretty fucking hilarious considering I talked about Far Cry 6 in this video as well. Double the dose of Esposito. Next up, the Mandalorian. So there's these different story threads that are all interweaving with each other and that are all connected to each other. But this story overall is about the horrors of Night City. It is about what this city really is. It is about a cyberpunk future and how bad that could be. You've got all these characters and all these people in this city that are chroming up, putting all these cybernetic implants all over their body and just going fucking nuts with this. To the point where this can cause many medical issues, including cyberpsychosis, which is something that is featured in the game as well, but it is shown a lot better in the anime. It's horrific, it's sad, it's depressing at times, but it's also beautiful and wonderful, and that is why I loved Cyberpunk 2077. It had that same tone. You've got all these horrific things going on in this world. You've got this really fucked up world that you live in, this city where everyone is being oppressed to some degree, where every detail of their very being is being sold off as a commodity. But there are still moments of beauty, there are still wonderful things that can happen here. And Cyberpunk Edgerunners took that and turned it into the whole theme of this story. And I fucking loved that. It was so fucking good! But on top of that, this is an anime, so I would feel bad if I didn't talk about the animation. This anime was done by Studio Trigger, and they put so much personality into this goddamn anime. It looks so fucking good. There is so much detail, there is so much personality, there is so much charm going on here. It is incredible. This for me goes down as one of the best things I've experienced all year. It was fucking phenomenal, an absolute highlight of my year. And I highly, 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 highly recommend it. But anyways, thus ends another episode of Month in Entertainment. Overall, it was a bit of a weird month. Airplane's always a classic, so that was good. Cyberpunk was fucking amazing. The Artful Escape was fucking amazing. But I also played Far Cry 6 and Saints Row, which were not great, to be honest. They weren't very good overall. It's been a very mixed month. It's been so weird. But I am hoping that with it getting towards the end of the year now, we're going to be going into the video game release season, which means we've got games like God of War coming out. Holy shit. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. There's the Callisto Protocol, and I'm so excited to check out all these different games. So hopefully, in terms of games, we'll have some great things to look at in the future. But let me know what you thought about this month's episode of Month in Entertainment. What do you think about any of the things I talked about? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. But anyways, thank you for watching. Oh, you can't see me, can you? Messing around doing all this stuff on the couch was way more tiring than I thought it was gonna be. But anyways, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Pip pip toodaloo!